Mikey,
Morning, cuz. We're back.
we're back. How was your trip home?
Just literally just parked. So just got here this morning. Uh, when I do the night game, it's like I have my stuff and I'll tell my parents, I'm either gonna drop by or I'll let you know. And then once Jalen spit in Dak's face, I go, okay, it's gonna be a long post game. So I said I'll probably stay in. And then once they announced the weather delay, I go, I'm definitely staying at this point. So crashed, but I had to get up here as soon as possible. So, like a lot of folks in Philly, not a lot of sleep last night, but a well-earned W for the Eagles and the fans, and a well-earned night of covering a bunch of. It was Loogie Gate after the game.
It was a Seinfeld episode last night.
Yeah.
Let's get right to it. Do you expect a suspension? I know there's no history of it. The only thing that concerns me is that it happened in front of the whole world, right? The opening night. And, when it comes to the look and they've done a lot with, showing respect to your opponents. Do you expect a suspension?
I would lean toward no here based on.
Good.
I mean, nobody said for sure either way. I would lean toward no because he already sort of served the suspension. I mentioned that, and I had a couple of replies saying, well, yeah, but he was paid for last night. Yeah, that's where the fine comes in, right? So he lost the game, then he'll lose the game check. I think it was, I saw him after the game. Big Dom pulled Drew Rosenhaus, his agent, and his family and said, hey, come with me. And they went in that back area. There's a way for the players to get out away from the media. And I thought, he's about to leave without talking to the media. I thought that's a bad move. And he came right back after that, and he went in there, and I think he said all the right stuff. I believe that's a part of it. He said he made a mistake. It won't happen again. And he was asked, were you too wired basically, and was it your emotions? He said, no, I was really calm. And he was, talking to Dak about it, and there seemed to have been not a misunderstanding. I mean, look, what Dak did, there's no question Dak was egging him on. And Dak's response of, well, I guess I had to spit. And I didn't want to spit on my lineman, so I spit out in front. You saw the reaction. You knew what you were doing, right? And that'll be.
I kind of took it the other way. I know Jalen pretty well, and in the sense of if there's a room and people are laughing, he may take it like you're laughing at me.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
My man's he had a rough upbringing, right? So he's got his demons, and there's a switch. It's what makes him great. It's what makes him ferocious and fearsome, that switch. And, he blacks out. Like, he won't even remember certain times the other things.
Yeah, that's why I thought he was going to say, like, yeah, but he said, no, I was calm. I was loving. And, he may just be saying that because he doesn't want to put on that, like, oh, I can't control myself out there, because there's been some moments before. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I have heard that about him before, that a lot of times he'll take things personally, that people may be joking with him or whatnot. So we're in lockstep on that. And he made a mistake. I did dumb stuff. I'm still doing dumb stuff. I tell my wife this all the time. I said, I did dumb stuff till I was about 26, which is about the time I met her, which makes sense. And, I had a great upbringing, and I wasn't making millions.
Yeah, your parents.
And I wasn't in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So to ask these guys to, behave the way that the rest of us would, a lot of times is you're asking too much, right? Now, what you want to see is a guy, as he gets on in his career, make fewer of these mistakes and learn from them.
Right.
And maybe that was the biggest or one of the big learning experiences of his career. He knows he let him down. He also said that, he was watching the game on TV, and during halftime and the delay was trying to, hey, here's what I'm seeing. So he was still trying to contribute while he was back there in the locker room. I give him credit for that.
And to your point,
and you hope that he comes out if you're the Eagles.
A great point you made, which is because it happened right before the first defensive snap, he lost the whole game. So
yeah, he did.
Yeah. Like your time served is the best argument. I love that point.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yes, and I got to be careful about this because
Yeah.
it's different. Sometimes when a guy is either in jail or he was on the commissioner's exempt list,
Yeah.
the NFL will, and that's a totally different thing. Like that's a legal off the field type thing.
Right.
But the NFL will take that into account. So you got to figure in this case they take that into account again. That's why I'm leaning no. If it had happened on the last play of the game, maybe a little bit different, right? Maybe
Right.
if it happened in overtime, something like that, maybe a little bit different. Now you talk about the history of it. I went back and looked at fines. Terrell Owens got fined 35,000 for spitting. Max Crosby, I think it was like 20,000. Somebody else got 6. I saw the fines have been all over the place,
Hmm.
and I understand that it changes with regard to the CBA and how it's considered. So I would expect this to be a hefty fine,
Right.
if no suspension, a hefty fine. Maybe the biggest that we've seen again because of the spotlight and because there was that slow motion of the loogie flying. So I think it's a hefty fine. I'll still lean no suspension.
It is funny, man. It's a side. Talk about life imitating art. It's a Seinfeld episode.
Former Phillies reliever Roger McDowell, a big part of that. So yeah.
And the loogie took a left.
So my wife had never seen Seinfeld. So recently I said, you got to watch it start to finish. And the early episodes are slow. They're still trying to find the rhythm, the quality of the picture. So it's a lot of times it's tough. So I said, you got to hang in there because it gets better. And once we got to around that episode, it really hit its stride. And she's now laughing out loud. And she's like, oh, this show is amazing. Yeah, it was a phenomenon.
Oh, that's funny. All right. So let's look big picture, other stuff that I mean, it was a star-studded event. Michael Jordan, Boys to Men, everybody in the house. It was Raise the Banner. What was your things that stood out for your night last night?
So after their soundtrack, Boys to Men walked by our set there, and I wish I got time to take a picture. I was getting ready for my next hit, and I was caught off guard. But Nathan Morris of Boys to Men, a big Insiders fan with the NFL Network, I was like taken aback by that, and he's saying, if you tell me the information, can I now be the guy that I said, yeah, sure. You're welcome on the Insiders anytime. Guest host on the Insiders. It was, it's always, especially for this team this year and how much they talked about moving forward, to have all that stuff when you're trying to ignore it and Jalen not wearing the ring and all that stuff. Sometimes it might be hard to turn the page, but the way the game started with Van Sumeren, which I don't even know. I mean, that became like an afterthought, his injury on the opening kickoff.
Yeah.
I hope the kid's okay. It didn't sound great from what I heard.
I
But,
think it's an ACL. I think it's bad.
The way that he was, and you could read his lips, by the way. I felt bad for the kid. The opening kickoff after you work so hard.
I know.
So for that to happen, and then while that's happening on the ground, your best defensive player gets ejected. That's a tough thing to. When Dallas went down and scored, I honestly was like, Cowboys are going to win this game. I really had that feeling inside of me. And then when they scored again and answered the Eagles, it's like, wow, the Cowboys came ready to play. And I give Schottenheimer credit. I think I know a lot of people were down on this hire because it's like, well, they're hiring somebody that nobody else was clamoring to hire. Guys, that's not the indicator of anything. And honestly, I said this repeatedly. Brian Schottenheimer's much more prepared to be a head coach now than when he was a hot head coaching candidate 15 years ago. So I thought he really came and really had them ready to play. So if you're the Cowboys, America's team and Jerry Jones, moral victories, really, right? But that's kind of where they are, especially after trading Micah. So from that standpoint, I thought the Cowboys had something to build on. And the Eagles are sitting there going, boy, thank God we're 1-0 because we did not play our best game last night on either side of the ball. Offensively, Jalen made things happen on those scrambles, and you go, well, the play didn't work as kind of we drew it up and designed. He bailed them out a number of times with that. So you go back to the drawing board, especially with, a bunch of guys banged up, including Landon Dickerson, who had to leave to get x-rays on his back there. So I think you're happy you got a couple of days off. You got a lot to work on here but that's week 1 football, man. It's amazing how
exactly, like especially this group that doesn't play at all in the preseason. So, I mean, you got to take September and you got to grade it on a curve to get in the rhythm offensively. There's so many factors there. And I think the way, the Cowboys played you, I think they made it a point to kind of take away AJ, outside the numbers. I think they made a point, and Jay, I thought Jalen was masterful last night in playing
Mhm.
the point guard. Like he's like Magic Johnson. That's kind of how I look at him, man. Where whatever you need me to
Yeah.
do, right? And he's got such great vision as a runner. It's
Mhm.
unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think you come away from that game saying as bad as things went on a number of levels, we won the game. Like
Yeah.
that's the mentality and that's the makeup of a champion. That's the kind of stuff that you need. So I think you come away feeling really good about that part of things. And then again, you get the extra time, you get rolling, you get I mean, Belichick used to use. I hate to invoke Belichick right about now because it's not looking so great, but he used to use that first quarter of the season to find out who we are, what's our identity, what kind of team are we. And I feel like the Eagles in a lot of ways are that because of so many changes with losing guys and bringing different guys in on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Andy did the same thing. Andy's teams historically,
Yeah.
I mean, he'd be 1-2, and then they would always go on a roll. He's always like, dude, it's always about November and December. Like you just want to
Yeah.
arc. They're like great jockeys, right? Like arcing to get you're playing your best football.
Yeah.
When you look at Barkley, the thing that shocked me was how well. Now I know losing Dickerson was a big deal, but they really shut down, especially that inside run. They shut Saquon down after the delay.
Yeah. I think that messed with their rhythm. They said it didn't. Both sides said it didn't. But when you have that in the middle of the game, you've got to reset, and not only do you lose that edge mentally, you lose that edge physically as well. You try to get loose during that period, but it's so hard because you've got when you're warming up for a game, you got two warm ups. Most guys have two warm ups.
Right.
You come out, you warm up, no uniform. You go back, you get dressed, you warm up again. Like there's a whole rhythm to it, and to lose that rhythm and have to restart it in the middle of the game, that's a tough thing for guys, and I think it hurt guys on both sides of the ball. CD Lamb might tell you this morning that it hurt him and his ability to make some plays late in the game. I had somebody this morning ask me and said, do you feel like that game is on CD? I was like, he was so good early on to put them in a position to be in the game late. It's kind of hard to say that it's on him, but I do think that part and that game. Listen, the last time the Eagles were in the game, it was delayed before kickoff. Last year was delayed. I covered a game between the Broncos and the Ravens that was delayed. So it's a common occurrence for this week 1 Thursday opener to be delayed by weather in some form or fashion.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. It's interesting when you're looking at the big picture, particularly of whether it's disjointed, not, and the whole thing. The week 1 opener is always weird, even for the Eagles. It's like Pat McClune said this yesterday. Our buddy Pat McClune was like, I got a feeling it's going to be weird. And we were going through openers of the past, and there are odd scores or odd happenings, and I just think that's the nature of the sport.
You can also see it. It's a tangible thing. Like go back to the Rams playoff game, right? And how well played of a game. I mean, there were fumbles and mistakes and stuff like that, but you can see the quality of play. It's a tangible thing that you can see that doesn't exist in week 1. And that's the beauty of it, right? Like you come away and you go, there's going to be week 1 overreactions. We watched that game last night. It was so fun in a lot of ways, but the quality of the game is going to be so much better the next time these teams face each other. And as we get closer to the playoffs, that's what you love about the season. That's what evolves with the season. And that's why we love the beautiful sport. And I'm so happy it's back.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.